They all have their concerns, but through the years, there's one thing we surely learn. That's what they want, and what they need are not okay. And though our best even they have their and with our lives they surely say, in order our condition stays the same. We turn our hands from life. We must take a We've got to gain it for ourselves. 'Cause freedom doesn't come for free. If we support our leaders and work in unity,
الحمد لله رب العالمين وبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واشهد ان لا اله الا الله واشهد ان سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Let me flip this. I gotta switch up. Yes, my co-host Haja Kamila Shuaib. And how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. It was a full day yesterday, and so I started off, had to get myself recentered to be prepared for the day, and I'm good. So never any complaints, just readjusting. So we're good.
That's good.
Thanks for asking. How you do?
I feel great. Everything is clicking. You know, I'm almost at that point where there's a joke. I was a guy I grew up with. I see him in the grocery store sometimes when I go early in the mornings, and you know, he always dropped some little old folks saying that's the way he sees it. You know, he says.
Yeah.
So I said, "Hey man, how you doing? How's it going?" He said, "Well, I woke up this morning, wasn't nothing hurting, so it's a good day."
That's a win.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing hurting, so it's like, okay, let's go. But I'm not quite there yet. There's a little element of that there for me. But alhamdulillah, no, it's all been good. Alhamdulillah. So let me let let our audience know that we are expecting a guest. He's going to check in, chime in a minute. I'm looking forward to his number. I don't see his number in Blog Talk right now, but we're gonna have Zaid, Side Effect, Hamid. He's going to be with us. Again, it's all in line with this culture, legacy, wealth creation, preservation, alhamdulillah. And it's also about that intergenerational, not also, it is specifically about that intergenerational wealth. And we know that wealth comes in many, many forms. And I know you, Camila, you are the queen of letting folks know that wealth comes in many, many forms, alhamdulillah. So I'm going to get out the way and let you say what you say. It's all on you, my dear. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum to all of our listeners and those who are joining us live via YouTube or Facebook. I am Haja Camila Shuaib, and I am the CEO and owner of Love is Always the Subject, and I am a spiritual empowerment coach. And I am the daughter of Imam Fahim Shuaib, alhamdulillah. I had a multitude of things. Like every time when I get to come and have an opportunity to share on this platform and at this moment every Monday, I'm not one to, and I'm okay with it, I'm not one to plan.
Sorry for jumping in on
sure.
you, sweetheart. Do you have any music or sound playing in the background?
It might, yeah.
Sound like some of that brainwave sweet kind of stuff.
It is. I didn't know it was that loud because I had my earbud in, right?
Yeah,
okay,
Delta
good.
waves and theta waves and all that. I feel you. I'm with that.
Hey, that's what gives me
I'm here for that.
In the morning. Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. No, it's good. It's all good. Your girl checking in too. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah.
Our girl.
Our girl.
All right, go ahead. All right, I'm out.
So, like, even in that moment, right? I just, Allah is just so masterful. Allah is so masterful, right? Because it's bringing me back to what one of my original thoughts is. So I am compartmentalizing that so I can lead back to what I was saying. Like, I don't sit and outline, hey, today I'm going to talk about this on this Monday. I'm not that kind of presenter. I'm not that kind of teacher. I genuinely go with the energy of the individuals that are, whether they're in my class, or the energy of what it is that is really something that I need to share with my audience, right? And so earlier today, I had this idea about the ideal of systems of knowledge. I've been working with that a lot, right? The Imam talks about systems of knowledge, and then I wanted to expand, really understanding what is your system, right? What is your system? What is your strategy? Like, with this energy right now that we're operating in globally is about systems. So we talk about wealth here. What is your system around wealth? What is your system around prayer? What is your system around love and family? If you don't have a system, you allow yourself to become susceptible to systems that do not fit you, that do not serve you, right? So that's where I started, right? And so then when I was getting prepared for here, and you were hearing my sounds in the back, like when I was doing my meditation to just kind of center myself, right? And I know why I had to center myself. I do hair, and my clients, my client gets to control the remote because they're going to be stationary in that space. So it's like I give them the remote, you watch that, I'm paying attention to your hair. And I'm not a TV person. Like, I don't sit and have my programs like every Wednesday this show, every that show. I just don't. I don't watch the news regularly. If there's a specific story I need to go, I prepare myself and catch pieces of it, right? Because I'm easily affected. My waters are easily, shook by things that I consume, whether something I listen to, things that I watch, reality TV, I can't do it. It throws me off, right? And there used to be a time where I would gravitate to certain shows because you wanted to feel something, this drama, right? But that type of drama didn't serve me, because eventually you'll start to project it in your interactions, in your expectations. This is like one of the dangers of social media. Like if you know, these algorithms, right? If you click on one thing, they'll start to flood the system with many things that cover that, right? And there's tons of data around what that does as far as like using your cell phone and the things that we consume. Just when you Google something and you look it up on Amazon, then all of a sudden you've got an advertisement on your Instagram feed, or all of a sudden there's a little sidebar in your Gmail account, you know, showing you different options for the very thing that you were looking for, right? This is the same thing about how we attract certain things to us, be it good or bad. And so, in understanding that my client was watching Ozark, right? I'd never watched it before. I know what certain things will do to my system, right? Entertaining, absolutely. But it was a bit like, this is not a show that you binge watch, right? And so I was, as I was getting ready today, I was like, oh, that energy of that show is what's on me, right? And if you are easily triggered by, just think about, when I say triggers, the things that set off a certain emotional response, sense memory, right? So if you have a sense memory issue around trust, and you watch a show that's all about who do you trust, who can you do, it can further project into the things that you do outside of the team, even though they're acting. Don't let them be good actors, right? It can further shift how you interact with things, right? So when you think about, when we're talking about culture, when we think about the things that are fed to us as Bilalians, the kind of music, our ideas about wealth, our ideas about how we create wealth, that there are shows that perpetuate this trigger warning about, you know, the moment we try to get up, we get knocked back down. The moment we try to move forward, we get knocked down 100 times, right? But we still go, and to the point where don't trust nobody. Your friends is not your friends. Your family's again. So these are ideas that have a tendency to perpetuate itself outside the stage, right? And this too, even as I'm speaking, alhamdulillah, was not the direction I was going in, but it fits, right? This experience, this collective experience around us, this collective experience about gas prices going up and inflation, it's affecting how we deal with our money. It's affecting us moving in a space of not being as charitable, a space where we are becoming mattress tuckers with our money. Like we're not really open to the ideal of investment because we don't know what the market's going to do, right? And we have been taught that, but you know, the way of the Eurocentric mindset around money, the white wealth, they don't operate like that. They don't move it. They don't touch it. They don't withdraw it. They don't. Um, they have plans before the plans. They harvest their money in a very different way. And alhamdulillah, many of us are learning this, but this is not a part of our cultural movement with money, right? So we're relearning our cultural movement with money and how we interact with it. And then how do we focus on the ability to build it, to generate it, to multiply it, expand it, right? And this part of that journey for us can cause us in many ways to move with fear. Abundance can't live in a space of fear, like this idea, because fear is akin to lack, like this idea of lack. So I'm afraid that I'm going to lose something. Now don't even attach it to money, but just fear is the fear of loss. Something is going to be lost, is not going to be enough. So abundance can't possibly occupy the same space with that mindset. And so here's the thing that came to me when I was meditating, and I believe this all connects, right? And it's like the beauty of being a part of this community is that we pay attention to the language we use. We pay attention to the words and how we string them together to create a thought. We string words together to create a thought. And that thought is the seed that plants the idea that we can now, manifest the life that we want, right? Because if I'm confident in myself, I'm going to enter the room with a different kind of posture. If I believe myself to be beautiful, I'm going to enter the room with a different kind of posture. If I know that I'm a great talker, I know how to speak in any room that I'm invited into, I'm going to enter and engage the world in a very different way because of what I believe, right? And so when we look at this idea, I was thinking about the idea of challenge and exercise. Challenge and exercise. So when we're having a hard time, sometimes we say stuff like, my faith is being challenged, right? Or my trust is being challenged, or my womanhood is being challenged, whatever. Like we'll put challenge with this thing that we're seeking to make stronger, right? And so I want to invite us to use the word instead of it being a challenge, that we have we have been blessed with an opportunity to exercise our love, to exercise our faith, to exercise our trust, to exercise our creativity, right? Because a challenge is it puts this ideal of it being an obstacle, an obstacle in a way that it is stopping you, that is blocking you from the blessing, right? A challenge, an obstacle is to stop you, to put a boundary, an unhealthy boundary to getting you to where it is that you want to go, right? So if our faith is being exercised, it has a different energy to it, right? My faith is being exercised. So that means there's something I need to do to make my faith stronger. Okay. So the things that I say that what is my system around faith? What are my tools and rituals that I have access to strengthen my faith, to exercise my faith, right? Is it prayer? Is it fasting? Is it writing? Is it, meditating? Is it, reading more Quran? Is it finding a new study tool and what have you, right? What are those things, right? So in the same way, when you say, my finances are being challenged, where our finances are being exercised. What is it about my financial situation that needs to be stronger? That needs to be pressed upon me so that when the abundance shows up, or whether it's there and I just can't recognize it, that I have a way and a system in place to maintain it. I don't lose strength. I get stronger in my financial situation, right? Because the weakness or the inability to exercise it is pretty much like you don't have enough systems in place around it. So when we think about exercise, and I've been, it's like you hit the gym, and I just love this analogy because it's just so very, very true, that you can use one machine and go to the gym. You'll continuously use one machine. I'm not even talking about just one machine. And after a while, your body is not going to give you the results that you need to get. There's a certain way that you have to adjust the pressure, the weight, the incline, whatever, the number of reps. You could just take something, let's go basic, something as simple as dumbbells. Like you can have 8-pound dumbbells and you have an exercise that you do for that. And as you do that this is the only one you're doing, right? But this is the only piece of equipment you have. All right. But after a while, you notice that you're not getting stronger in one area. But if you take that dumbbell and you do it behind your head, it's going to have a different kind of way of working the body just because you shifted your position, right? And so when we look at what's happened, like, okay, my money is not doing, but and I'm saying this without there being this really big impact that has happened. But if there's a way that you have to shift your mindset around what your financial situation is looking like, then you'll be able to strengthen a whole nother muscle as a result of it. And so when we think about those systems, what are they? Do you create a budget? Are you learning about new ways of investing? Are you taking a class? Are you, choosing to look for financial support? Are you holding yourself accountable with other friends that want to build wealth and talk about wealth? Are you reading books? Like, there is something that is not happening that is challenging the thing that you want to make stronger. So when we pray for a thing, we ask a lot. Like, we ask a lot for whatever that is, and we're about to enter into this beautiful month of Ramadan next month. Next month meaning April, and we'll pray for a thing. And what happens is the thing that we pray for, what shows up is the opportunity to exercise what we already know. Okay. Moving out the way, saying challenge, exercise. We now have an opportunity to exercise, having more to give more, right? We have an opportunity to exercise our ability to study, right? And in this exercising, now we become stronger in that area. And then in the midst of doing that, we discover, or we open up the very thing that we have been asking for, right? Because the opportunity to exercise is not to keep you away from it, it's to make sure we don't have to pray for that anymore. Like, let's elevate our prayers to another level where it's not always about help me get this bill paid, help me to, make the mortgage, help me to be able to give in charity. Like, we want to get to a whole other elevated level of praying, right? So when these opportunities to exercise these parts of ourselves that we're asking for, it's so that it will be strong enough to maintain itself. And now we can pay attention to these other muscles, these other ways and characteristics within ourselves that need to be strengthened, right? We now have an opportunity to say, okay, well, now I need to focus on this, right? Building my relationship with family members. How do I get, because now we so busy in the hustle and bustle, we don't even have time to even think about how other parts of our lives is being neglected, because we are so driven and so like claws down in what we're supposed to get in this earth, that things are off balance, right? So that challenge needs to be exercised, because it's not a challenge to keep you away from the goal. It's an opportunity to strengthen it to the point that you don't even have to ask for it. It's on autopilot. It's strong enough to maintain itself, that your faith is strong enough to maintain itself, that you are not, your faith isn't being challenged, it's being exercised. It's like, okay, this is the next level. This level 2, we've taken it up a notch, right? And I believe that that's such a beautiful way for us to not get stuck and caught up in this ideal of lack, or this idea that Allah doesn't want all of the best things for us. Because Allah wants us to have the good stuff, like the good stuff, right? And we create the boundaries that keep us from the good stuff because we're afraid of the exercise. We're afraid of the muscle that is weak, that needs to be strengthened in this process. But let's think about that. What would it feel like if this muscle was strong enough to maintain itself, and I could enter into a whole nother level, a whole nother space of this life gym, right? That now it's like when something comes for me to exercise my faith, it's an easy task. I can move on to the next, right? Or when my financial situation is reaching a certain level that needs to be exercised, that it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do here because I have a system. And this is my system for this, in order for me to not have to get bogged down, and it takes all the energy out of me, and then I'm projecting my short temper, and I'm having an issue, and I don't know how to find joy in the midst of all of the struggles and the hard times that I may be facing. I have a system in place to help me get out of that rut, to help me to work through the things that I don't really have a system for. So let's think about that. What is our system for our financial life? What is our system for our spiritual life? What is our system for our family life? And that these systems are directly connected to our relationship to the Quran, and really trusting that we have the tools necessary to go into this divine book and find what is that thing for me. And also knowing that there are people who are resources, and that we humble ourselves enough. And I say the word humble loosely, right? Because that word has baggage with it, right? But that we allow ourselves to understand that we are always the student and the teacher simultaneously. The best teachers were and are students, because they're constantly looking for ways to sharpen their system to teach, and sharpen their system to maintain and acquire knowledge, right? So it's a hand-in-hand relationship. So never at any point should any teacher feel like, yeah, I already know that. No, 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 you don't. There's always room to learn more. If you're here above ground, there's always room to learn and know more, to make your system better, right? And knowing and understanding that part of it, because Allah is the Lord of all the systems, right? So each one of us, we have a system in the way that we do things that allows us to live the best parts of our life. We do. We have a system. So when you heard the music in the back, my system is when I'm like, have some anxiety, or I'm overthinking and I'm moving too fast to where I get clumsy, I stop. I'll turn on my sound frequencies. I'll sit down. I do my deep breaths. That's a part of my system. It may not work for everyone else, but baby, it works for me, right? So it allows me to get myself recentered to do what it is that I need to do. It gives me a system in order for me to be prepared to engage the world in a very balanced and clear way, right? So what is your system for anxiety and for all of these different moments that may pop up, right? Life is going to happen all the time. So you're constantly learning what that thing is. Yeah. So I'm going to stop there and invite the imam back up.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yeah, because I could see you hold on, where am I at?
You muted.
Hold on. Yeah, I got you. So
Okay.
yeah, I can see, as you and I know, because people didn't see us when we first came on, a couple of moments on stage before we raised the curtain, right? And so you had that woo saw moment, right? I can see
did.
it's like, okay, so she's like, okay, so she's on that page today. So alhamdulillah, you got it. Yeah, that brainwave suite. Well, I call it well, it's brainwave suite. There's this guy Steve Halpern that I was introduced to decades ago. I don't know, but it is a true benefit, to get you into that piece. Let me just drop a little piece of Quran relative to what you said. One statement. This is not a statement from the Quran. This is my abstraction of what I'm going to call it a proverb. Success is progress against resistance. Success is progress against resistance. You can't make progress without resistance. All you got to do is just ask people who's ever slid on some black ice, right? You slid on some black ice, it's like, well, nothing you can pretty much do is just sit there until you hit something that stops you, right? Because that's just it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, let's just wait till it hit, right? Well, right. See, cars make progress because of the friction between the rubber and the road. That's where people say it's where the rubber meets the road, right? What they mean is where the rubber meets the road is like, well, this is where the real stuff happens. It's real now when you start feeling that resistance, And exactly as you were saying, you have not invite the resistance, embrace the resistance as a necessary part of the progress. You can't have progress without resistance, right? And your faith grows. I know I'm repeating what you said, but your faith grows by embracing that resistance as a part of the system. Okay, this is what. Do you think that you're going to be left alone on saying we believe and not be tried? You know, last thing where Quran says it says. Uh, لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد كبد, and this kabed is toil and struggle. That's how it's usually translated, toil and struggle. But as students of the Imam, we go to the root. We look for the masdar, the nature of the term, and kabed ties to liver, that part of that organ in your body, liver, critical to life itself. Right, when the liver goes bad and all that, you're pretty much done, unless you get a transplant. Okay, that's it. But look at Imam Muhammad again. The word liver, not a dyer,
right?
A liver.
Come on,
right,
yes,
right.
yes.
So it's like, so you embrace the kabed with your faith, and that's the way you're going to live. That's how you're going to live. That's how you're going to progress. That's how you become a liver and not a dyer. Right? Embrace your faith. Embrace the resistance. Mashallah. So Pop got bars. You know Pop got bars. All right, but look here. I'm gonna bring somebody else up in here that really got bars. I got them. They in the green room right now, so I want to introduce them before I bring them on. We're about to meet brother Zaid. He's my new nephew. He says it's my nephew. Okay, Zaid. Side effect Hamid. Right? He's got a middle initial N. I'm gonna let him tell me what that N stands for. He a little bit of his very, very brief bio. Quran study leadership year 2 student. I'm thinking that's Imam Rashad's class, but I can also be informed about that. Al Mu'minun Shura board member, Camp Khalil team leader, Muslim youth mentor, Halaqah facilitator. Recently gave his first khutbah, and I'm telling you, he hit on all cylinders. He's ready for prime time. Allahu Akbar is wonderful. Okay,
Allahu Akbar.
And then there's something that's been unannounced, so I'm not going to announce it, but I'm going to let him come and announce it regarding an upcoming conference, and that's something that we need to know if it's clear and official for us to be able to make it public. He is a Muslim poet and author. He's an author. He's authored his poetry, but I understand there's a book coming, inshallah. Poetry writing instructor. He's a member of the St. Louis Poetry Slam team, the founder and business manager of Yo DJ, mobile app development and entertainment company. I'm telling you, that's serious stuff. This is stuff that makes us happy. And so, alhamdulillah, it is my honor and pleasure to bring on my nephew, Zaid Hamid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, man?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alaikum, Ma'am Fahim, Sister Camila. How are y'all this evening?
Alhamdulillah, very good. Welcome in.
Looking at you, man. Let me give everybody a warning right now. This whole platform, people know it's like this is something that we've never done before. But this is the inauguration of a change of platform for wealth creation and preservation. Because as I mentioned last week, we are starting down a path where we don't set, time limits or series limits on it. But what we have to talk about, it has everything to do with culture, legacy, etc. And our story, that first resurrection, second resurrection, that story, we just finished the weekend of what used to be called Savior's Day. And the way to say it and understand now is Save Your Day, right? When you get that February 26, 1975, that day, when you understand that was the Big Bang. There you go. That was the Big Bang for a whole new world. That's the day that you have to save that day. Don't let that day die. All of its significance, etc. Okay, so I'm getting sentimental right now, but the point is that this culture, this legacy. So when I look at my daughter, when I look at Zayd, who is the son of Askia, sorry, don't know your mom's name, apologize, Imam Askia of, is that East St. Louis, Illinois?
Yes, sir.
Correct? Yeah. This is that generation flowing, right? Camila got bars. I was just thinking about pulling down the poem that she wrote for me, and on our they celebrated my time and work at Messi Worth thing, and she wrote a special poem for that, FOI, but we ain't gonna go there right now. So but we'll get to it for us all over. Okay, and maybe we get her to drop something, because she'll kill you with an acapella. She'll come across with that acapella. What's that girl? She's on that insurance commercial now. Nationwide is on. Oh, what's her? Jill Scott, right? So Jill Scott, she got it like that, y'all. I mean, I know I'm boasting, but look, it's all good. I'm boasting in a righteous way. Zayd. Man,
I appreciate you, Bob.
Gave you a chance to open your mouth yet, man. It's because that's how it was when I called you for the first time. It's like, hell, I mean, you so special. I can't stop talking about you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like I just get juice. I just get amped because y'all represent what it is like. It is like Imam Muhammad said about Elijah Muhammad and Claire Muhammad when they played that tape for Elijah Muhammad, thinking that's gonna seal his coffin, right? Elijah told Claire, said, "Isn't this what we've been looking for?" And I'm telling you, what I'm looking at is what we've been looking for. So I'm gonna back out. So Zayd, there was a couple of blank spots when I was talking to you, when I was introducing you. If you remember any of them, fill in the blanks for me. The Quran Study Leadership Year 2, is that Imam Rashad's class?
Yes, sir. This is my second year program with Imam Rashad, Quran Study and Leadership. Yes, sir.
And what about this upcoming Muslim National Conference? Any word on that?
So it's still a little bit under wraps right now, but
all right, we'll leave it alone. We'll leave it alone. I don't want to get you in no trouble, man. It's good. Talk to us, man. Say whatever you want to say. Oh, my warning to the crew is like, I may not wind up getting to none of my PowerPoint stuff. Y'all already see how I'm rolling, so it's like I have to get back and forth next week. Cause I don't know. It is what it is. I follow the best spirit, inshallah. So if it said we just gonna wind up chopping it up, then hey, that's what that was the show today, right? But one of the things that I really want I'm gonna use this language right now today. Old heads, y'all need to check in and ask some questions, because you look at we're speaking to a generation who we either served. In fact, we did both. There's some places where we succeeded, and there's some places where we failed. But we have two. This tonight, for example. We have two that say, hey, they good. I hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna kick them to the curb. You know what I'm saying? I wish they did a little less of this and a little more of that, but I ain't mad. They had to work with what they had to work with. That's what we got right here. And look, y'all need to, y'all that's on the line, you need to ask questions. Don't come on for the Kuba now, okay? I'm claiming all Kuba space today. So don't come on for the Kuba. If you got a question, comment, need for clarification that that these two generations represented here, or these generations represented here, then come on, ask some questions. Also on the Facebook and YouTube side, we'll click up your questions and comments as well. Zayd.
Yes, sir.
Go.
You holding this up back. Assalamu alaikum. This is similar to the call that man Fahim gave me a couple of days ago. I appreciate it. I'm not, like you said, he's not one for flattery, and I'm not one for really being on the receiving end of it. I just recognize a lot of blessings in my life, and when somebody's acknowledging it, I acknowledge it to myself, but I'm always very appreciative of it, and always try my best to live up to, that expectation that we have as community members, and, the expectation Allah has for us, being the best community for all mankind. So it feels like a heavy load sometimes, but I'm really like, it's just moving with it, right? And one day at a time. So my name is Zayd Hamid. My artist name is Side Effect. I do spoken word poetry in St. Louis, Missouri. I also travel around and do engagements in different cities for universities. I accept bookings. I do teaching opportunities. But I've been writing since 2016, and I'd say about 2 to 3 years ago, I always call it like the smack to the back of the head of this reality really hit you. And alhamdulillah, afterwards, I was able to get enrolled into Imam Rashad's first year of Quran study and leadership. And ever since then, coupled with my own Quranic reading, it's taken not just my writing and the application of that language, the Quranic language, into my writing, but just actually applied it into how I live my life. And it's like multiplying times E every day and being appreciative of it, not taking advantage of it because I'm not going to call it a heavy burden, but it is a heavy responsibility. So with that, it took my content to another level outside of just me appreciating it myself, but also my community. Being able to say that I write poetry that is able to be performed in almost any environment, whether it's a religious setting, a family setting, a entertainment setting, academic setting. It's a consistency there. And what I love, I'm not gonna say love so much to love about Islam, but when it comes to Islam, we recognize a strong sense of consistency. It's the ability to remain yourself and in the best mode that Allah created you in all areas that you're in and behaving accordingly. So with that, my poetry really fits into these spaces. So just, applying it into my life, these teachings, it starts to develop every other structure that I've already been building and show light into structures that I want to build for the community moving forward, such as that unannounced conference that we're not going to talk about, but other areas as well. So Allah has really blessed me, and alhamdulillah, appreciate my parents being beyond supportive, obviously, of this. I really do look at it as, taking a torch opportunity and to be able to see other Muslims in our community that are younger, I'm 27. And there are Muslims that have reached out to me that are in the, lower 30s, 20s, late teens, where we recognize that taking the torch is, I'm going to call myself a second generation because my dad was a convert. But second and third generation Muslims, such as, myself and I imagine this Camille as well, where our parents and our grandparents, when they were just coming into the fold of Orthodox al-Islam, they had to learn for themselves and their families. And as they get into the later years, now they're recognizing, wow, okay, I think I'm good. They weren't able to give as much to the families as they could have been because they were still learning themselves. So now we're coming into the first generations that are actually applying it self in a family environment where we can really take on an even heavier, responsibility when it comes to applying in our communities. And we see it with our imams today. And, I'm really appreciative to be able to come on this platform. I remember you speaking about me coming on and speaking about my poetry last fall after I released my first project. So being able to just expand that message is one of those things. And like you were saying a second ago, my middle initial N is Nadir. And upon coming out of that, life-changing moment, I learned it meant Warner. And applying that with just the rest of the meanings of my name, my first name, Zayd, increasing, warning, praiseworthy, praise of God, Zayd Nadir. I was like, wow, it's like, it settles in on that, giving your children good names and those names being a responsibility. I remember even in Costa Kids, it's like your name is your shield. And like for me, for example, like one of my best poems I've written to date is called Warner Brothers. And it's just focusing on that aspect of warning. But just similar to how I'm communicating here, I graduated from the University of Illinois in 2017. Just a heads up, I am currently in the process of relocating to Atlanta, looking for any opportunities to be able to help build a community down there. Also looking for some work as well. A lot of take me into some next stages, but I don't want to get too long-winded. So I think that's a pretty deep.
Oh, no. That's good. It's reality. It's reality. And so, alhamdulillah. So, in terms of one of the things that we're focused, this is wealth creation preservation, and of course, that is a universal concept, idea, many facets, etc. And so, there's a cultural facet related to it. But I see here you are also founder and business manager of Yo DJ, mobile app development and entertainment company. Yes. Tell us a little something about that.
So when I went to the University of Illinois, I graduated in 2017, but went in 2012. I went in for engineering, despite the opportunities really provided to me by my high school not being the best in math and sciences. I was kind of working from, let's say, at a disadvantage, but I didn't let that, dissuade me from wanting to pursue further. I already seen examples of it in our community and my family itself, coming from our environment and being able to go for these higher demand degrees. But for me, unfortunately didn't work out. So despite having completed up to, I had to work my way from college all the way from pre-calc to Calc 3 and physics and chemistry, did all that and wound up still graduated with a communication degree. But my love and passion for technology never went away. So while I was at school, this is before I was, let's say, as applicable with my Islamic knowledge, I did go out. Never participated in anything illicit, but I did go out. And the one thing I didn't like when I went out was the fact that if I'm going to go out, I want to at least hear the music I want to hear. So I thought about an application that would allow you to send song requests to DJs. And then what would incentivize them to accept these song requests? We said, well, you could tip them with the song request. So alhamdulillah, 4 years later, we're on the cusp of being able to get our app in the hands of 500 plus DJs due to our mentor based out of Chicago, DJ Freddie B. We built a successful mobile application and launched it onto the iOS App Store. The last 2 months of 2021, our first major rollout of the application, we had 700 users. And that was just in a minimum amount of events. So it's so much promise there. But, Allah has blessed me in the times where I was not conscious in movement. But when I became conscious about my movements with developing the company and developing the business, everything just accelerated. But it also doubled on my intentions when building the company. So a lot of internal structure did have to be resettled, and a lot of the goals for the overall organization did have to be resettled because I am working with a team. So I have to be as transparent as I could with that because my Islamic identity comes first in all environments. So with that, Allah is really blessing me and continue to allow me to build this into something that will turn, inshallah, into the most wildest opportunity that came out of nowhere because I saw something I was interested in and I consciously pursued it. A part of that responsibility to a conscious pursuit then turns into the gratitude that you exude when earning, what Allah is giving you. Not just when you're earning it, because you're not always going to get what you want, but showing that gratitude in the process is what, kind of balances the scales as far as Allah is giving. What are you giving to Allah? And what you're giving to Allah, we know our service to Allah is our service to mankind, but also our rights to the doing this religion. So with that, I've just seen an manifold increase in our productivity. And even myself being able to apply for jobs that are project manager, technical project management based, because of the skills I developed by building this company with my team that a communication degree typically wouldn't go for. And the overall goal there is, one, when I got that degree, I said, well, then I'm going to be the world's greatest communication major. And I will say this is the first interview I've done in a long time. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, but inshallah we find out later. but those skills apply directly into what I'm working into, because what I recognize in building any type of relationship, even our relationship with Allah, is communication as a foundation, coming after our purpose and intention in it. Being able to effectively communicate, that's a part of the responsibility of us as human beings, because we have been blessed with this consciousness. And a big part of this consciousness is the ability to communicate through the five, right? So, alhamdulillah.
That's wonderful. Allahu Akbar. Camila, you Haja.
Okay, as long as I was unmuted. I'm absorbing all of it because one thing that I'm definitely recognizing is this idea of how Islam allows us to show up in our authentic space, right? To show up in our wholeness of who we are and our identity. And the beauty of how it's already with the work that you're doing. And when I think about when you mentioned names, right? I was just doing this whole writing about the ideal of our names is literally just a seed from the time that we're a child, right? And what's so beautiful is that our parents, they may have just saw a meaning of the name and was like, okay, but in that, this was the seed. This was the seed of possibilities of all of the things that we could do. And so now we're manifesting the whole vision, But our parents didn't know that in the beginning of it, but Allah knew, right?
Right.
And Allah said, name this child that. And so it's beautiful that you made that connection about our name, because who we are, when the Imam talks about us engaging the earth, like we're the seed that's being engaged, right? And so as a result, your name is what's establishing that energy and establishing that culture and that idea. But I want to ask you a question, because one thing I'm always curious about as an artist myself is this: what level of responsibility to Muslims only, and the responsibility to humanity in the creating of your art, because you spoke about language, right? And how this language has a way of, we need to be in a space of being able to speak to everyone, right? And so how do you approach that?
So I'm not gonna say it's corny anyway, but think about it this way: that Imam Muhammad, radiallahu anhu, introduced Quranic Arabic language into an English-speaking environment, right? A Christian environment, and made it just make more than sense. I look at the language of Quranic Arabic specifically, being the highest form of expression that human beings will be able to verbally engage with. With that, when being converted or translated or, moved into a different language body, such as the English language, you then bring other languages into their higher form. So with that, it's me recognizing that the language of the Quran speaks to the heart. And we know this. This is when people do like the experiments of people listening to Quran for the first time and they just start crying, or just like, it's so beautiful. But a part of the conscious understanding of it is allowing it to be able to apply to the conscious brain as well. So with that, that's why I look at my poetry. And differentiating between Muslim environments and non-Muslim environments, or general public environments, it turns into, what is the plainest language that I can use that works in both? So for me, it was as easy as saying, well, when my writing first changed, I was writing for more of a popular culture environment. But when I look back at what I was writing, it's like, what was I talking about? And I think of the same thing sometimes when I listen to Common. Common is still one of my favorite writers, but you notice a repetition of consistent themes in identifying true self with culture. And we recognize that culture is guided and created by our environments, and it's impressed upon us. But if we limit ourselves to that, we're limiting ourselves, literally. So with that, it's like when I take my studies of the Quranic Arabic, or my studies in class, I break it down and allowing me to put it into my poetry, where you'll have somebody saying one or two things or three things. It's, man, I feel like you're talking about something. I got to hear that again. It's just, their conscious mind is trying to catch up to it because they know I'm saying something in plain English. And it's something that, like, I never thought of it that way. But it's like, but being able to effectively communicate that is a learned, conscious, striving skill. So for me in my writing, it turns into, Muslims appreciate my writings even more versus someone who's not identifying with our language, our Muslim body language, where, what is it? They're like, man, he's just talking about, good nature, and this sounds like common sense. And we all know, like, for some people, common sense isn't so common. When a Muslim hears my poetry, it's like he's talking about Islam. One of my favorite artists, I listen to a lot of reggae. Specifically, when it comes to reggae, I love the reggae. It's an artist named Clinton Fearon. He's based out of Seattle. And what Clinton Fearon does is, it's like when you listen to his music, you're like, I swear he's Muslim. And to the point where I've Googled it, because it's like, he gotta be Muslim. But I don't know. And for me, when I was just getting into my translation of poetry for the environments that I'm in, I didn't want to just flip the switch so fast. Because once we get into more of the higher level language, Quranic language, and specifically getting more into the Arabic with it, it's like, if we're to be, wisdom and beautiful preaching with this religion, they have to understand what you're saying. And that's the similar approach when going to a khutbah as well. It's like, you want to speak the language of the people, but you want to speak the highest language of the people. to the people. It's like you don't talk baby to a baby. You want to talk like you don't want your baby babbling when they turn 6. So that's how I think about it. And alhamdulillah, it works really well. Really well.
Alhamdulillah.
One more thing. I want to jump in again.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah. So in the writing process, have you ever found yourself, like when you first wrote a piece, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that you revisit that piece and it has a completely different evolved meaning as a result? So like, it's like at the time that you wrote it, you thought that on this level, this is what it meant, but then you revisit it and you're like, hold up, like this, though this is the piece, this was really what it was supposed to become.
So with that, I use the example of Allah spent all the guys, the conscious and the unconscious. It's just the conscious are more conscious of it. The unconscious just be moving and not knowing that, Anyway, so with that, when I look back at some of my old pieces, I'm like, huh.
Right.
I was saying that. So now when I'm performing it today, if I perform an older piece, I'm consciously performing it with that intent. So when it comes to my projection in certain areas, I'm being more intensive with how I'm saying it, because it's like, this was the message here. And even some poems, I tweaked a little because I'm like, if I was a little more conscious at the moment when I was writing it, I would have said it this way. So I see that all the time in some of my older ones. And people point stuff out to me too. I'm like, damn. But I'm glad I'm able to see it, because I'm like, dang, back then I really didn't. I was just writing to write, right? So
Alhamdulillah. Well, there must be a song, but the only thing coming to my mind is like MICKEY. See, that's too old for even both of y'all. Yeah, so we have to come to the end of this segment, alhamdulillah, but we're not gonna do it obviously without dropping them bars. So you gotta bring whatever your spirit is telling you to bring for us, right? And then we're gonna roll out with that. Hold on, let me see what we got here. Brother Zay, I'm an old head who would really love to have an alarm clock that would wake me up with the voice of a Bilalian Muslim American voicing the call to prayer and reciting Quran. Any hope for that, you think? I believe there's a lot of hope for that, but go ahead, Zay, just react to
it. Inshallah, as I get my vocals together. Alhamdulillah, right now I wake up to Yusuf Islam's call to prayer because it's so beautiful. But inshallah, one day I'm working on it. But I do know my brother Ahmed, who just commented, won an Adhan competition at a national conference many decades ago.
Is that right?
So
I'll
pass that back to him.
Well, we got to get it to, there's an app for that. You know what I'm saying? It got to be hours. I'm gonna tell you, the Adhan clock that I have in here right now. Fortunately, I don't even know the name of it. The Adhan clock. I bought an Adhan clock. Brought it home. This was years ago. I think Camila was still at home with us before. So that's how long ago it was. But alhamdulillah, this is no boast. Your brother's got a nice Adhan when his pipes is all cleared out with lemon and honey. He's ready to rock. So I had an expectation.
You have a great Adhan, Baba.
Alhamdulillah. I mean, this is no boast.
You do. You have a great Adhan.
Alhamdulillah. So the point is, I've got this alarm clock, and when I heard that Adhan, it was trash. I mean, that was my first reaction to it. Like, this is trash. But it fits, it fits the ethnic scenario, of that. It's good. So, I kind of leveled out and, hey, it's automatic. It's doing what it do, blah, blah. But ain't nobody going to be able to do it like we do it. My own muezzin, Rashad Shaheed, killer. I mean, he's like, powerful. Also, same with Imam Wilmore Siddiqui got it, and that blows it up, man. So yeah, we need that. We need that. Wait, hold on. We got a hand up here that's coming in. Oh, he's also an artist. Let's go ahead and listen to this brother right here on Blog Talk. Brother Melvin, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam. And this question is for the poet. Those who
Get closer to your mic. Get closer to your mic, man. Can't hardly hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Let me do this. Is this better?
Well, so far
Does it sound better?
it could be better, but if you can't do nothing about it, let's go.
Okay, I apologize. I'm driving, but what I want to ask is it from the question that Camila asked about the about revisiting poetry and and seeing something different? Is it possible, or is it inappropriate to revise a piece that you already done and put it out again, but revise? That's all. That's the only question I have.
Yeah, well, Camille's
we live in the era of the remix. So it's always room for the they remaking everything. But I think that it's important creatively. I'm begging Zay to tap in on this, that the authentic artist's heart and time of inspiration, you always have to check, am I doing this because of how I want people to respond to this? Like, oh, this will be fly if I do X. And it's not authentic to the message that needs to be portrayed, but it's authentic to the ego that you want stroked. Is that, you get me? Okay, go ahead, Zay. So we gotta be clear about the remix.
I'm not big on rewriting unless I'm still in my current writing process. If it's over, it's over, right? My current writing process is so meticulous and I love it. Like, alhamdulillah, right now I'm in the process of writing the last poem of my series of 7 called Faith. And with it, I started a little bit of it a couple weeks ago, did a little bit, a week ago. I'm not in any particular rush outside of myself to complete it. The one I could completed before creation, I was working on it from October to January. But it turned into 4 minutes of the 6th of my series 7, and I'm like, that's what it needed to be. That's the time it needed to take. And alhamdulillah, my only push for Finish Your Faith is I'm trying to, inshallah, get this book done. But I'm not about to rush content to complete content that, I'm making a conscious effort to get it done, and there's no signs really telling me that I should have did it a month ago. So alhamdulillah, I'm just going to trust my process with it.
Allahu Akbar. That's wonderful. Alhamdulillah. So we want to get something from you, and I'm gonna give you the full screen on this, and you're gonna be on stage. So microphone check, it's on you, man.
Yes, sir. So before I continue, like I said, I do speaking engagements. You can contact me at effectivepoetry@gmail.com. That's effective with an epoetry@gmail.com. And I also love teaching about the content of my poetry because it's just teaching Islam. So the name of this poem is Intentions. I completed it last fall. It follows the theme of the 7 days of Kwanzaa, which I wrote a poem for each day. Nia, or Intentions, is, I believe, the 5th day of Kwanzaa, and we recognize and we know that Swahili is a trade language is a trade language with Arabic. So many of the days in Kwanzaa correlate with a particular Arabic term. For Nia, for example, we know that means intentions. So that was the point of me writing the poem Nia and calling it Intentions. Nia, our intentions form the foundations of our thoughts, our sentiments form the foundations of our actions, while our actions form the foundations of our environment. But our environments have become the foundations of our purpose, when our purpose should not be subject to change, because our purpose is who we truly are, because our purpose is the one consistent nature found within the spirit of every single being before birth, containing an innate nature of worth, like a seed grounded into the womb of this earth, with the potential to contain the language of a universal verse preserved in scripture, which is in turn rehearsed and interpreted into a plain language, which I've learned from the learned, in order to further nurture the urge that seeks to emerge from the common person. An urge capable of converting its intuition into purposefully manifested divine intervention, resulting in a guidance, redeeming the minds of mankind into a solidified foundation based in intention, which will then form the foundation of our thoughts, which will then form the foundation of our actions, which will then most certainly manifest our true purpose in the environment, naturally innovated in the foundational expression of excellence that is our human nature. So I beg the question, what is our purpose? If you only knew. Our purpose is a foundation we've chosen to build around, but not upon. Then becoming surprised when we are used as pawns in the sinking schemes of the Genvia's architect, mocking our original blueprint, attempting to tamper with and turn our temperate template toward temporary temptations, turning us back into toddlers forced to tend to our own terrible tools. Because we've been transformed into this false sense of purpose displayed in our environment. Its empowerment has blinded us into a bind, pridefully assisting in the whisperer's attempt to form an influence to mentally shift the public, using a language that is formed into a disguise to uplift. Despite its false foundation, it's always fluxing, until it's seduced by the sirens to become the cause of its own destruction. Because where I'm from, haters are supposed to motivate us, but not to follow them. Yeah, we do this daily. Our consistent purpose was manifest first before the birth of a newborn baby. Doesn't their environment, like clay, shape their reality daily? This consistent nature by Allah was to not be subject to the side effects of our inconsistent changing. But what's the reason why many of us still resemble a strange fruit that is left hanging? Because we still, till this very day, choose to eat of that same fruit that should have been left hanging, instead of planting our own seeds, tending to our own roots, growing our own trees, and farming our own fruits, because we are our roots, because we are an extension of our Nia, our purpose and intention.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Akbar. You know what? The timing is so perfect. The statement is so clear. This is going to be the end of today's broadcast. No sense.
You know what?
Ain't no sense in me pulling out the whiteboard, the blackboard, you know, and getting all academic and intellectual. It's like, man, come on. Let it fly, man. So I'm gonna let everybody float on what's going on right here. It's beautiful, as expected. Alhamdulillah. And Camila, any last words? And then we're gonna give you last words, Zayd. And we're gonna bring you back when that. How far from publishing are we, in your opinion?
Inshallah. Give me a month and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. So it's all good. Yeah, no, it's good. So whenever you are ready, whenever it's published, we definitely we'll get you back, for that for sure. And that's it. And we're gonna be pulling in others to do that, right? But I'm gonna have to watch out for y'all. Y'all be doing that. What was that? I think Dinah Ross made the mistake of giving the microphone to Patti LaBelle. In that no time, you get him. Hey, look, the same
rest
thing
is
happened
history.
With James Brown. The same thing happened with James Brown and Wilson Pickett, right? James Brown had Wilson Pickett to come up on one of his shows, and then Wilson Pickett was singing his song better than he was singing the song. It's like James Brown said, "No, make sure I don't give him the mic no more." Right? No, it's all good. It's all good, but you mic drop the show, bro, so you can tell everybody that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mic drop Shuaib show, man. Man. He had to end the show, man. It's good. Take that with you. Camila, any last words, and we're gonna go.
No last words. I think that was full, and I love to just be present and absorb all of what was shared, because it's layers to that poem. It was beautiful. I appreciate you sharing, being so generous with your craft.
Thank you.
And sharing it with us here. But speaking of publishing, since we're talking about publishing, you know,
Well,
but I started
I
started a crowdfund because I have 3 books I'm looking to publish. The first one is on the spiritual responsibility of leadership. I'll give you the link so you can share it on your Facebook page, because you know publishing is self-publishing takes a lot, and especially when you are building all the parts that come along with that machine. And so 3 books that I'm looking to get done, and I'm seeking the community support in ensuring that we can get this published and ready by the summer, inshallah. So you can find us on Love Is Always a Subject at ifundwomen.com, and look up Love Is Always a Subject is our crowdfunding page, and we just launched it this weekend. So ifundwomen.com, Love Is Always the Subject is the company. So yeah, so I mean, it's so beautiful that we'll have a way to hold on to our legacy and the language that we were both grown and nurtured through. And so I'm so honored to be in such company. So alhamdulillah, thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. All right, we out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.